All right, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday. Days just go by so fast. Hopefully a little bit slower than before, or maybe actually a little bit faster than before because people are actually getting out and a little bit of sun helps. But that's good. Today we have a special guest, MSP, who actually was very generous and was willing to host us at one of the spots on the last Channel Strong tour. Mr. Michael Goldstein from LAN Infotech. How you doing today, Michael?
Hey, great, George. Great. Good to see you virtually, and it was even better to see you in person.
100% in person, 110 times, over 10 times more than virtual. That's my opinion.
Hey, we got you down to sunny Florida.
Florida was fantastic. I'm not gonna lie. It was great weather, great company. People are already feeling the vibe of being outside. I couldn't complain, to be honest with you.
I agree with you.
I mean, you're in a very great place.
Well, it's kind of crazy because we're expecting 90 degrees on Saturday.
Wow. I mean, it's summertime.
Yeah.
Coming early. Guess what? It's hey, you know what? If Mother Nature's ready to rock and roll, why aren't we?
Agreed.
So for everyone that hasn't had an opportunity, Michael, to run into you on the street, at a trade show, at a conference, at a user group somewhere, why don't you give us a little bit of background about you, how you got into the IT industry way back when, a little bit about your company, and how things ultimately are doing today?
Sure. I will tell you that I've been in IT for 30 plus years. It's been one of those things where I kind of grew up in the PC industry, worked for a couple of really large law firms over time. First law firm that I worked for, I think I came in and there was 8 PCs, but there was a $10 million IBM mainframe. That year, and I got a few gray hairs here, so I won't go too far into it, but that year, one of the dial-up companies for legal research came in and offered the firm 100 PCs based upon usage. So we went from 8 to 108 to year 2 to 650 PCs. Wow. No network. I was traveling all around the country, setting up dial-up connections and, writing code for everything that was out there, pre-Windows days. We would dream it up. We would, edit, old DOS, hide things in place there. And, it was about giving users PC access versus users today demanding access and things. So, went out and started to work for a very small IT company. There were 3 of us. We were big Novell partners. We grew that over probably over a 20-year period from 3 to 65 people. Across. Wow. We were in Long Island. We were in New York City, Jersey. We had offices in DC and Raleigh and in Miami. And I currently am living in Fort Lauderdale now, as our conversations there, but was traveling down here multiple times and lived in Queens and, missed a couple of winter storms. My wife was ready to kill me. And we moved down to sunny Florida about 26 years ago.
So you did it before it was fashionable, huh?
Oh yeah. I live in West Boca Raton, and I remember when I first moved here, and you had to call a taxi to come take you to the airport. The pre-Uber days, like, where the heck are you? So I've been down here, and then separated from my company about 11 years ago, and started LAN Infotech. We're 24 people today, covering the South Florida area. People don't realize, if you look between Miami and West Palm Beach, it's a good 90 miles. It's a big area. 24 people was this week's total, and I'm also really happy to say that my 2 sons work for me. I actually have a 32-year-old son and a 30-year-old that both are in the business. Working.
How often does that happen? Following in the footsteps.
Oh man, it really is great, to see it, and you take for granted. You see them all the time, and go out there. Also keeps them close because I have 3 grandchildren. Actually, one of them that's a brand new one, that granddaughter that's probably 3.5 weeks old. So
congratulations! They're coming into the world at an interesting time.
I know. I think we'll all look back at those periods of time that are in place there. And I guess crucial for all of us this year. Happy to be on the upward curve than last year.
100%. No question. No question. So wow, that's you actually make a good point. Florida's such a big state, and from talking to people, at your place when we were in Florida and other folks that we're friendly with down there, there's more people moving there than there is places to move to.
It's crazy. It's crazy all over the place. We see a lot of those out of state plates. Listen, we have a lot of snowbirds. For those of guys that come down to Florida in the winter, and more and more plates that are out there. New construction going out. New businesses opening up. But you're right. It's a changing world that's there. We're just trying to keep up with technology, keep up with the flow. And of course, always appreciate things like Channel Strong. One of our bigger focuses over the past few years has been, working with not-for-profits. It was, we have a very big vertical in the legal industry. Not-for-profits have been big for us. So when, you guys knocked on the door, we're very channel friendly. Those of you guys, you and Ken, you guys are staples that are out there in the community. We try to follow in suit, and it was always good to participate. Of course, accepting food for Broward Partnership for the Homeless. I think that was a great piece, and it was great to have you vendors that were out there, and have some of our competitors that we haven't seen. We really do try to keep partner friendly out there, and we're always trying to give a helping hand. So
Well,
thank you and all the sponsors that was great.
no, we appreciate you, right? I mean, if I remember properly, your team had not been in person for like over a year.
Yep. The last time we had a company meeting, all of us together, was St. Patrick's Day last year.
Mhm.
We I think I did an event the week before, and had a company meeting, and then we had a scare because our client, a couple of our employees were at sites that again, we didn't know how contagious COVID was, but
Right.
we've been virtual. We actually started back up. It was when I came in to meet you guys that were there. I mean, I have been going to the office in off hours. My right hand person. We hadn't seen each other in over a year.
Wow.
And some of the employees. I mean, there are some guys that couldn't make it out to the event, still haven't seen. So, we're trying to open up and, keep things, safe. I've been talking about, the Channel Strong piece to everybody because you guys really prepared it well. Hand sanitizer on every table, the fun games, everything was great. And, how to do an event and keep us without thinking that we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Hey, that was the goal, right? A little bit of community, a little bit of networking. You said it best, right? You hadn't seen your employees, let alone other people in your area forever. We just wanted to like restart the dialogue, right? It's the best thing that we're all missing from all the events, although they seem to be maybe starting to come back. And listen, everybody's in a different place. Everybody has a different, like some people are getting the vaccine, some aren't, some have health situations, some don't, right? Like everybody's in a different
Yep,
zone. But the fresh air is always good. And
of course.
but you know what? People are designed to interact with other people, like in person. Like it's like a chemical, like mental thing. If you're not, if you cut people off, I think, like all of a sudden they go a little bit crazy. That's what I think. But
Nah, I'm a believer of that. I probably at least a week to 10 days every month. I was traveling, whether it's events or other things that are out there. I'm married this June 36 years, and I hear my wife saying to some of her friends, I haven't seen him this much in 15, 18 years. So you do get a little stir crazy in the house
I'm gonna
that's
see if
out
I
there.
can get away with that.
And you're right. It was great. I will tell you, I came home that night and I said to my wife, I go, man, I am tired. I know I didn't drink any beer. I was just one of those things, I got to really work up because it's tough business schmoozing out there.
Like you hadn't talked that much, right? And
Right.
like, and there was great. There was a ton of good conversations. I mean, it was actually a great amount of people that was like, not super crowded, but like, think about that. You had, you know, how many one-on, just even checking in with your own people, right? How often do you get to,
No, I
shoot
agree.
or
It
grab a
is,
beer, right? Grab a sandwich, talk.
and I think that I hadn't been to a physical event since, March, the beginning of March the year before. It was amazing. And you guys rocked it out with that superstar camper out there. I mean, guys, if you could participate in this, I was really proud to be a part of the team out there. You rolled that out. It was great to see. I had the big parking lot. I just hosted. It was a lot of fun. You guys
You got a
rallied up.
great little lake behind you too.
Yeah, yeah.
That
You
was
guys
awesome.
rallied up a lot, some of our competitors that I never met before, that were out there. Other people that I was happy to see that we just do a lot of virtual things. So it was a great community event. I think we did send out the pictures, but I'll tell you, we rallied up food for Broward Partnership for the Homeless. I had our two guys that our sales guys deliver it. We did a whole little presentation. They were super happy. Like you said, it was great for you guys to help us help you, and then us being able to go out there and help the community.
Yes, a little bit of community help goes a long way. Let's talk about technology for a second, right? Because
Definitely.
clearly you're doing well. You have 24 people in the company. That's not considered a small MSP, by the way. How many customers and how many endpoints are under management right now?
So customers, I'll say, so we're a big Microsoft shop, and we do a lot of 365. So customer numbers definitely high because people start off with a little. So we probably have about 500, 600 active customers that are in place that are transacting. Definitely over 8,000 endpoints that are in place. Growing by the day. I think it's important for all of us as MSPs to keep our line card and our arsenal up, because I always hear it in all different events that are out there. If we're not changing with the times, your competition is. So I think it's important to keep that together.
No, that's incredible, by the way. I mean, congratulations on building a great company. You got your two sons in there. You got 24 people in the joint. And virtually. I mean, so or hopefully soon back in person.
Yep.
So like ultimately that's fantastic. So like what's a typical size customer for you then?
You know what? So we do a lot in the legal industry. So I do socialize a lot with a lot of MSPs throughout organizations that are out there, and the legal industry is very unique because they're very incestuous. Big firm, guys leave the startup firm. So I usually joke about it saying, the average size customer depends on cash and heartbeat. Those are the two things. So I think that, you can help out some of the small customers that are in place there, the startups that are out there, because we're finding that in a lot of industries that technology makes that small guy just as effective as the big guy that's there. So whether it's, VoIP or voice services that are out there, of course, cloud services that are in place there, and a computer and internet, you're good to go. And really, the legal industry is no different than what we're doing as MSPs. We really are selling knowledge because most of us don't manufacture or make any product that's in place. That we rely on great vendors, tech support. So we're seeing a big growth in that side of it. Outside of legal, we do a lot of work, and we do a lot of work with not-for-profits. But over the past year, the biggest thing that had one of the craziest growth for us was doing virtual event planning. What we did for our clients, we found that in the not-for-profit industry, many of them, they live on fundraising and just didn't know how to put events together. So we actually worked with a couple of different platforms that are out there. We just did an event, for a women's fund in Miami. It's a profitable event for them. They doubled the amount of money that they raised compared to the last in-person event. So we had close to 400 people on Zoom with breakout rooms, and we got to actually usher Jane Fonda around to multiple rooms to their VIPs as an example. Or we helped a not-for-profit that was Gilder's Club, Gilder Radner's Foundation in South Florida. They had a 25th anniversary event. We did it on a platform on a Saturday night, and the big event of the night was having, they called it Celebrity Jeopardy, Saturday Night Live Jeopardy with John Lovitz. So, people just need some direction, some technical help. We've helped people put together webinars, all those types of things. And in reality, We're just taking the basics of what we have to do to run our business and put that into, hey, you have to plan, plan, plan. You have to think about this. You have to have a goal. You need some tech support, you know. So in reality, we've been donating our time for that, and it's coming back. It came back, you know, hundredfold in a lot of the events that and people that we were able to help.
That's fantastic. I mean, it just goes to show you that a lot of people have done things in the last 14, 15 months that you may have not normally done, right? Like you had to ebb and flow, different things came at you. And like, I can't tell you, I mean, we talk to MSPs, hundreds of MSPs a month. That one has not popped up. I'm going to be
It was
honest.
surprising to me, you know, but you know, we found the need for not only, you know, there were organizations that, you know, clicked on Zoom. They didn't realize, oh, gee, I have to pay for this. You know, what happens after 40 minutes? Oh, how do I get multiple video feeds in? You know, what could I do to make it look different? Listen, we've all been part of different events that are out there, whether it's, you know, the SMB conference going on now on Hopin, or we use Remo with ASCII, or a few others that are in place. It's like anything else. No one wants to sit there and read the manual. So we've helped them out. In many cases, we've donated the time. I mean, it's been really good for different places. And you know, listen, there's no substitution for this or some in-person networking, but we were able to, you know, come out of that, help some people out there. And of course, you know, listen, I think that good things come to people, you know, that do good deeds. And I think that it's
Oh
brought a
yeah,
lot of people together, you know, unlike, you know, what a lot of our manufacturers did over the first 6 months or 9 months of the pandemic of, you know, software. We kind of felt that, you know, we don't manufacture anything. What can we do? And besides doing the virtual event planning, we did a lot of, you know, Microsoft Teams and Zoom trainings for large organizations, schools, cities, you know, just to help out. So, you know, I think that we all have to pitch in, and I think we're all better together than we are separate.
100%, no question about it. On the topic of Microsoft, since that seems to be a really big focal point, um, you know, like, do you see a lot of people still going biz standard, biz premium they used to be, or are you starting to see a transition over to the E1, E3, E5, or M1, M3, M5? Like, how is things kind of shaping up for you on that front?
I think we're seeing more go to the M365 Business Premium, you know, that small business type bundle that's out there. We have rolled out a ton of, you know, I'll just call it the Azure Active Directory type bundle that you put in place there. A lot of our clients, you know, on, you know, we'll call it, you know, pandemic 3.0, realizing that, hey, many people are going to continue working from home or not, or even in the 2.0 version, you know, you can't support, you know, the 10-year-olds, you know, laptop that they're using for business. You know, we can't give them those SLAs. So we started, you know, piloting with a lot of clients, being able to, you know, tie everything to Active Directory, be able to make sure that we can upgrade their bundle with some of those pieces, you know, security, and it's been great for us. You know, in a few weeks ago, we got to see, you know, Microsoft release, you know, beta of, you know, touchless, you know, no password, you know, using YubiKey or something like that. So basically, employee A comes in, you you give them a temporary, I don't even want to call it a password, but they have to activate Authenticator or a key within a certain period of time, you know, log into a brand new laptop with your Active Directory, slide the key in, no passwords. So we're trying to ride that wave because, you know, with every bad thing in the world that comes up, the bad guys try to monopolize on that. You know, we've seen exponential phishing, exponential, you know, the COVID scams. So I think, you know, converting people into this new world of, you know, almost like passwordless. And
Hmm.
but again, you know, you still
You,
have to have either the authenticator
I was
or,
gonna say I lose my keys all the time.
you know, YubiKey, you know, in place there. But you know, a lot of good devices that are out there, you know, tied to
Mhm.
fingerprints. So I think that we've all changed the posturing as the world changed, and it couldn't happen sooner enough.
I agree, especially with all the exchange stuff that's been out there over the last couple weeks. I mean, they're obviously still trying to figure out what happened with the SolarWinds stuff earlier in the year. Um, so so we're doing the M365 Biz Premium. Are you doing any add-on, like, what else are you doing around security?
So we do go out and we do sell. We're a Sentinel One partner, so we've, you know, Webroot/SentinelOne up to those pieces. Of course, email security, there's a few that's in place there. That's been really good for us. We're between, evaluating SOC type products. You can't go to an event today without, the 4 or 5 that are out there, and we're evaluating that. We've also, stretched out in some of the Microsoft add-ins that are out there. Microsoft, Defender for 365. There's a plan too, that's out. So we started evaluating also all new customers, tenants that they come in there. So listen, it's the undocumented things that you have to get a handle on. So we've been building that bundle in there. Of course, 365 backup. We've seen an explosion of teams, and people. We're just trying to prepare them to say, hey, listen, your users delete this. You find out 36 days later, the data's gone. So 365 backup is it's important that goes out there, and just some of these new, artificial intelligent type email securities that are focusing just on the phishing. Good slew of products that are in place there, and then just trying to prove our, renew those contracts and prove our value without trying to upsell them.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting point, because everything comes at a cost, right? I mean, over time, you need to ultimately add more technology because new stuff is, emerging. You're evaluating that as it comes through. Like, do you build in an escalator in your agreement so that you can sneak these things in there, or at renewal time, like you said, you're trying not to upsell, but is it, it's almost, some of this stuff's becoming a requirement now, kind of thing.
Agreed. Well, listen, we run a lot of events. So really what we're doing on the virtual time, we do a bunch of, Microsoft hands-on training. So as we're showing them some of the new features, or, we'll just do cyber events that are out there and show them what could potentially be happening. I think that, last week, Broward County schools, public schools, the 9th largest school district in the country, publicly had to send out emails because they had a $40 million, that's right, $1 million ransom that was put on them.
Really?
And the bad guys not only did that, they basically said, hey, we're going to put an escalator on top of that if you don't start paying by this certain time. And they did publicly release on the public internet school data. Now, it wasn't just student data, it was parent data. You think of everyone that's a parent right now that had to log in and put some information in place there. So, when it hits your backyard, it's a little easier to talk about it. But it was funny because I think publicly, I saw on the internet last week where you see their CIO chatting back and forth. He must have captured it. He goes, am I reading the number of zeros right on this? So, I mean, you look at something that big that hits out to there. We haven't seen the forensics on what it was, but I'm sure it started off with a fish, like we all see on some of those things. But 9th largest school district with a huge IT staff, but what we're portraying to a majority of the customers is, the value of us utilizing some dark web search products, because we don't want someone to sit there and say, well, that's Broward County Public Schools. They're all over the place. I'm a 5-user guy. So we're doing a lot of events tied around, what the dark web is, with phishing examples, why you need this. So we're generating the questions for demand, and then telling them, hey, here's the premium type products that you do need if you're in an unregulated industry, because in regulated, it's an easy sell, right? These are reasons why you need some of those things. So I think you have to look at it, but nobody wants to feel like they're being sold. You walk in for that $18,000 car and they're trying to sell you the $36,000 car. So I think it's a matter of, learning by doing and showing them by doing and showing them what could happen.
100%. So this is very interesting because largely MSPs, especially the guys that are still small, struggle to do any sort of consistent marketing, demand generation, any sort of educational, consistent, kind of effort, right? But it sounds like you're doing this regularly. Like, how often, and how are you driving people to this?
So there's 2 things that we do. First of all, I'm a certified Microsoft Immersion experience engineer. So Microsoft has, these customer experiences where you can run hands-on labs. Okay. So we run those twice a month. So we started off with Teams just to give people, because listen, people think that Teams is just a chat program. have led into, we just have had a Azure one, demystifying Azure. And again, we're talking hands-on, so people can see how easy it is to create a machine, create a virtual machine. Next month, we have an M365 focused one. So in reality, to see someone's face when you're on this hands-on lab, you tell them to type a social inside of Excel, click save, and all of a sudden it becomes classified document is, it's mind-boggling to them. So we're showing them some hands-on pieces, and we regularly do that twice a month. But the other pieces is that we're very involved in the community. I always talk about this and say we're in 6 chambers of commerces locally. So you look at that 90 miles, we're in. Our main one is the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce, and I run their technology committee, and I'm also on their board of directors. So as you're involved in these community, in these chambers at a high level, I'm volunteering to do the content for them. So I don't want to have to go spam my customers 4 or 5 times a month for every event. I'm the key speaker for an event. I'm donating my time. You raffle off some pieces that are out there, and I'm giving my message. This morning, we were just on for a not-for-profit group, that is groups of not-for-profits. We put some content together, on supercharging your virtual events, cyber awareness. We did something for a group called the South Florida Institute for Aging. We did something on phone scams and how, elderly can go out there and save money on their phone bill, things that we're doing. Monday, we're doing a cyber scam type piece. So I think that the awareness is getting out in the community and offering them, because I think many of these organizations are just short content, and they need experts that are willing to go out there and talk about the content and sell later. That's what we do. So
interesting. No, listen, that's a tip for everyone, right? Like if you're right, you can only spam your customer base so many times before they're like, stop, I'm done. Yep. My stuff's working. But no, like that's one of the big questions, right? Where do you find new customers? Where do you find new people to deliver the message? Sounds like they're out there. You just need to go and knock on the door and say, I'm here.
And I think that with any organization, we could rattle off all the MSP organizations that are out there that we're. If you don't go all in, it's worthless. I hear people say, those chambers, I don't get anything out of it. You can't just go in and expect them to call you because you're a new member. I run the technology committee. I'm on the marketing committee. I'm on the branding committee. I want to find out how I can get more involved that's out there. I was the chamber member of the month last month in one chamber. Another chamber, since we did so much for them, we were like the IT Innovator Award. So I think that if they're hungry for people to come in and help them out. And I tell people that when you're in there, because again, my competitors sit with me, and I'm a believer that when you're representing an organization, your organization hat comes on, because that's why you're there. Yes, deep down, we're all salespeople, and we're out to. But if you can't be that salesperson when you're representing that organization, and they have to feel that they have to feel that honesty, that piece that you believe in that organization.
100%, 100%. So let me ask you this: how much of your time every month are you spending interacting with the 6 chambers and the nonprofit? It sounds like there's a time investment.
There's definitely a time investment. What we've done is, so we have 2 sales people that are involved in the community. A couple of years ago, I realized that, it's so hard, and we probably can rattle on how to compensate guys, good sales guys, bad sales guys. I decided to take away anything that had to do with sales in their title and their community relations people. And these 2 guys have been with me for over 3 years, and they believed in the community. They felt like, wow, I want to be involved. One of the sales guys, he's on the board of directors of one of the chambers. So they're involved. So there's 3 of us that kind of knock this out and go in place there. Pre-pandemic, we would joke that we could probably eat breakfast, 3 lunches, and 2 dinners and a happy hour on the events every day. If you chose to, but you pick and choose what works for you, because not everything works in one of these chambers. So I think that, the staff came in there, they believed, and they feel just as strong as I do about the community that we live in and we work in. And we're out there. And yes, it takes time, but pounding the pavement, new clients, doing events, doing things takes time also. So I think it's involvement. that you do. And as long as, and I know that the people that serve on some of the boards that I'm on generally feel that same commitment to whether it's a big city, a little city, or just a municipality. And I think that's what separates the difference sometimes.
Interesting. So here's a question I've been asking consistently, and I seem to be getting a trend in one direction versus the other. Are you, as you're bringing on potential new customers, are you finding that the percentage of people that you're running into is increasing where they have never been working with an MSP prior, or no?
Definitely. I think that, and in, we assume, an under 50 person, I'll just pick on they, I'll say over 50, they would have had some IT, but some of these guys have been doing it yourself. I think that they get tired of, I think the whole remote from home piece is kind of difficult in the first place. But I think that when they get a taste, it's sort of the first time, and everyone could probably relate to this, the first time you drove a luxury car, like, oh my God, I'm never going back. So I think that, you go through that, and we're seeing that when they had a taste of this, of trying to take some small services and realize, oh my God, we're monitoring, we're making sure that the updates are there. You got someone that actually answers the phone, versus trying to hunt down, someone else that might be either an employee. And we're finding this a lot also in the not-for-profits or religious organizations. It's usually, a congregant in a religious organization, or, someone's friend's brother-in-law. But now, since we're relying on it so much on the technology, whether it's making sure that things are up, that you can go to virtual school, or, you're presenting, or, I'm remoting into this, they appreciate, the us as managed service providers more.
Interesting. So when you're dealing with a prospective customer who has never worked with an outside, IT or MSP before versus that has, are you struggling with the pricing conversation more or less? Because like some people would think that, hey, they're already coming off of something. If they were unhappy, they're willing to spend a little bit more, but they already have an idea of the price point because they're already budgeting for it, right? So how does that conversation go for you?
So I think it's just in the overall of, every year, we all worry about how we're going to retain, right?
Yeah.
So, over the past few years, we've added, dark web search, we've added, phishing into the package, we've added, a lot of guys haven't caught up with that. So
Mhm.
in reality, we are adding more value, and they're asking about some of these things, and we're doing some of these things up front. Also, we've been finding, in those clients that, on those new prospects that never had IT, you know, everyone's a global admin in a 365 piece. They might have gotten fished. No one ever talked to them about, hey, maybe you had E5 licenses, but you're never using any of that, and maybe business premium works. Or we picked up a new client where there was only 30 people in the firm, but they had 70 emails, because basically they had, exchange P1s and everything for every ex-employee, because no one told them that they can use shared mailboxes. So there's things that we're finding that we're doing our upfront work with some of the tools that we had, and bringing them this piece, saying, look, what are you guys doing here? I don't know, that's how we always did it. So I think there's a lot to be desired. Now, on the clients that are just unhappy with their current IT, either they outgrew it, or maybe there was a breach, or there was something that they're not. So I think that if we're not educating, all our contracts have a 30-day out clause, no matter what term you sign for it. So I feel like we have to earn their business every month. So if I'm not proving value, and that value isn't just, throwing every report that we get of the new tool that's in place there. And some of our clients don't see any value in the QBR. So in reality, I want them to actually accept my call to say, hey, Mike, how's it going? Maybe talk about my Florida Panthers, or talk about some of the sports feed. I don't want them to think, oh, gee, here's the guy. It's 60 days before renewal. So we're constantly talking to them about technology, and we're bringing new things to those existing clients under that existing contract.
Interesting. No, I'm right from your page, right? Like, hey, I don't if somebody really wants to get out of the agreement, they're going to get out.
Right.
Whether you want to spend your time dealing with attorneys back and forth, up to you. But the 3-year deal with this concept of, oh, well, they're going to have to pay for the rest of 3 years. Let me tell you, you're going to spend more time defending that agreement than it's worth. But I agree with you that you're constantly having to, prove that you're doing something for your customer. And I think that over time that's become increasingly hard, because if everything's good and it's working, right? At some point stuff breaks. We all know that. But generally speaking, if stuff's humming, then they don't see you often. They don't call, right? Like, it's working. So there is a balancing act, but there's a double-edged sword there.
But I also think that they see that, and I've spoken to, listen, I have clients that have been my clients for 20 years. So, they're honest, they're honest to say some of those things. And in reality, it's like, listen, they can't go to every event, but they look at, wow, you're doing these things. It's stuff that I'm reading in some of the, vertical trade rags that are out there. They're seeing that we're talking about these things, that value. I always say to the guys, listen, my view on marketing is that, yes, it's bad if only 20 people show up, you expected 40, but what about the 5,000 that might have got the invite they couldn't have attended? So I think that as long as they see that you're active and it's not the same old, like we try not to send out, hey, here's today's special. No one wants to get those. We keep up on social. We really participate and try to put meaningful things that are out there. Yes, we talk about doom and gloom when we have to. You got to talk about that. As a perfect example, we're picking back up. We'll look at all the weather issues that have been going on out there. We're picking up in the midst of hurricane season. No one wants to talk about it, but we're on a couple panels. We're trying to, run some events, and we had, had a conversation with an organization that they don't want to call it business continuity. They don't want to. I go, you got to call it what it is. We look at a hurricane zone that's out here. Yes, we're better prepared than what we might have seen in Nashville and some of the other places that go out there. But you know what? You got to honestly go out there and talk about it, and you have to have a plan. You can't hide it and then say, oh, gee, we didn't talk about it this year. I have a very similar presentation. I'm down here 26 years. So 26 years, almost the same content. It doesn't change. If you don't have a plan, you're kind of screwed. And in reality, we talk about, and now it's even more important with the cyber problems that we're having. So we're trying to tie it all together and make our events educational, non-salesy on that, and we'll verticalize it. We do a lot of work with the Broward Bar Association. We're the technology sponsor. So since we understand that vertical, it's easy to talk about clients versus customers. It's just the way, clients are what law firms call it, and matters versus projects. So I think that you have to have that consistent messaging across. And we always say that you pick the 4 quarters, because we don't have seasons in Florida. So we kind of say, hey, as we hit Q2, it's business continuity. As we hit Q3, we're back on security. Q4 is usually end of year planning for Q1, which is just struggling to get everything that you didn't do last year. But, it's spring cleaning, you always used to call it. We have these little things that we do, and we really have to keep that. And guys, it's the messaging. And I always say to new prospects that are out there, listen, you know what? I'm not gonna do the price compare. Here's where we are. Here's our resume. Here's our references. And if you're not ready for us, I'm a big sports guy. I don't mind being that second string quarterback, because in reality, Tom Brady didn't come in as a first stringer out there. Yeah. And the key difference that I say about everybody that is on the bench, those guys are hungry to perform. So when you're ready for something a little better or something a little different, I'm there to perform. And that's the key. And they don't feel like it's the hard sales pitch that's out there. And listen, if you're not ready and you're like on the shelf, you look at my price, I'm not going to negotiate. I don't really want to sit there and do the price match. You don't walk into Morton's and argue that the steak's $50 and to go and place there. And I said, I don't compare myself and don't want to sound cocky, but if you're not ready for a full scale MSP that's been around for a while, that's not scared to tell you, what's wrong, call me when you're ready. There's no hard feelings.
Wow. I love the message. I absolutely love it. I love the sports analogies. Like, hey, I'm sitting here ready to go when you're ready.
That's it. You look at all those key players, whatever sport you go to. I'm a big hockey fan. You got guys that have pull up from the taxi squad now. They got to be ready to play. Those young guys that are sitting on the bench, or now as we're coming up to the NFL draft, you'll get everybody looking out, trying to build that deep bench. On there, how many of these guys get, not every quarterback comes out there and they're, automatically the superstar first string that's sitting out there. You got to work your way into that. And it's every sports piece. That's why we have, the guys that are on the bench. They're not there to just learn or, take up space that's out there. When you get that tap on the shoulder, you need to go out there and perform, or there's another guy behind you
That's
that's
true.
ready to perform.
So if you were to take out of the 100% of your customer base, how many still have the on-prem box in the closet running the brain? Give me a percent
So
estimate.
I'll probably say more. Well, let's take it easy. Email, right? Out of all of our clients, I think I have 4 Exchange servers, just for reasons, that they decide to keep that. So that's a good percentage. So if we take a chunk, almost everyone's on 365. So we probably have 30%. I'll say 80% still do have on-premise servers in some way, shape, or form that are out there. A lot of verticalized applications don't play well. It will change, and it has changed because of the pandemic, because they realized that they can't scale. We kind of called a chunk of our clients last year ghost offices. You had some kind of PC sitting there running, log me in, cassette, you name it, and they're remoting into that because those applications weren't cloud worthy. So some of the verticalized applications are really expensive, and we all probably deal with something as simple as QuickBooks.
I know.
I'm not, we use QuickBooks, my accountant doesn't want us to go to the cloud one. We have those verticalized applications that do require, some server, and then maybe it makes sense cost effectively to throw it up in Azure as an RDS server. We have done a bunch of WVD, but it's a different world for people to start thinking about it. And some of the verticalized apps aren't licensed to go to the cloud. We see those, especially in the legal industry, to go there. Or, we refuse to take a client out to the cloud if they don't have support. Listen, you got plenty of clients that have a line of business app that's real old. It's sitting, on a virtual machine inside of, Server 2019, but it's, it's out there. And, it's thousands of dollars for them to upgrade the line of business application. So I think that there's a good mixture. So we always joke about that, cloud, we always say to cloud or not to cloud. And sometimes clients come to us and say, why aren't we in the cloud? I was playing golf and, my competitors, and we kind of explained to them, we've had this conversation, and we continue to have the conversation as to, we need those, line of business apps upgraded. And sometimes they have the heart attack of what the monthly fee is, but they forget that, in reality, every 3 to 4 years, we're having that hardware conversation. And we try to analyze what they might be still paying off on their lease and some of the other things, and it doesn't look too bad. But you have to have that client that's forwardly thinking, because there's still some fear of the cloud.
No, I didn't even consider if they're on an application that, from a licensing standpoint, they're not allowed to go, based on terms of service. I never thought about that, to be honest with you.
Because what they do is that, and they define that as public cloud. Anyone can take some servers, throw it in a colo. It depends how you word it. But we've seen some line of business applications that their EULA kind of really said, hey, we, and a lot of these bigger companies that offer these applications, put it on our cloud, or move them to their SaaS model. So we're seeing that, you really have to analyze, all the apps that are out there. And listen, in some instances, in small businesses, it's not cost effective because they're not factoring in downtime. They're not factoring, maybe we all have to hide from the hurricane, and then there's power outages. I mean, I think there's a lot that they don't factor. And listen, all things equal, we probably don't follow everything our doctor tells us on that side of it. So I think that, there's a good mix. We've done a bunch of WVD, which has been amazing for us out there. And I think when people see it there, and it depends of what the age group of your customer is, right? Some people still like to walk by the server room.
Hear the fans going.
Yeah.
Are you, with any of the stuff that you're doing, with Azure, it sounds like, are you just doing it direct, or are you using some sort of orchestration platform that helps you with that?
So for our standard Azure, let's separate that from, we're a tier 1 and we have Microsoft Advanced Services. So in reality, we're doing everything, because some of it becomes some custom. But as we stepped into WVD early, we've been living in Nerdio. I mean, you look at those, it's great to go out there and see those things. Since we were involved in Azure early, for me to use an automation service to set up a server, or, some of the SQL things, and a lot of the things that we're seeing, because we are verticalized, we have to do a lot to the service. So it's not the same thing for every client, but Nerdio has been, amazing for us just from the education standpoint, and also seeing the backing of big guys like Microsoft, pulling for them. I was on an event where they had all these Microsoft execs talking how great they are. It's not that often that you see, the big guys telling you to use the automation platform.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. Like I'm going to be honest with you. I'm surprised by the percentage. 80, I think, is high based on the people that we talk to on a regular basis. But to be honest with you, I'm starting to still run into a larger percentage of people who really just, like you said, for one reason or another, it's prohibitive to go to the cloud. Usually cost is the beginning point, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, once these guys realize that, hey, this is not, you buy it once and then you wait for another 5 years and you have to do it again. Like, this is a consistent thing. So I think
And then
go ahead.
you have to spend time analyzing the applications because, like I said, it's not unusual for us to find, an app running on 2008 still that's
Yeah.
out there, and they kept it on that because they didn't want to relicense it. So, we're very upfront saying, all right, you signed all these things, not a problem. It's time for upgrade. I'll just move it on to new hardware. You keep doing what you want. You have already given me my indemnification on this, and if things change, that's it. But I won't even try to put any of that up into the cloud. It's
I'm sure the longer, like if you're still stuck on an application that's running 2008 server underneath of it, my guess is that it's way more expensive to get up to a more current version now than it was
right.
if they just stepped through it.
If they stepped it through. The other thing that we run across is we do a lot of work with property managers. So it could be a large, and when you go into the hotel and you have the key system, well, a lot of these facilities have something similar. That software is exponential. The cost of that for them to put that in place, there's a lot of these property managers still have some of that stuff old that's out there because the software is ridiculous just to be able to generate that and slide the key card. So, I mean, that was a classic example where just some things just don't work. And then there's still always going to be some on-prem for that because, I can't extend that. Even if it was a new piece of software, I got to be able to put the card on something and maybe that device might not connect up to the cloud. And then we also have some hospitality. You don't want to be in a place ready to pay your bill and, oh, the cloud's down. So hospitality is kind of hard. We deal with some hotels that are in place there, and some of the point of sale really does need to be local. As much as we talk about, oh, I'm going to have redundant everything, they can't afford to have any downtime because we're all consumers. What we they're like, really, I'm paying to stay in this giant hotel and can't settle my bill up now. So I think some of those applications, and then the peripheral connecting devices, IoT is great, but sometimes that whole piece hasn't been standardized.
100%. Are you really getting into door access, surveillance, building stuff, HVAC? I mean, all this is some part software, right?
We partner with a few companies that do that, but again, hate to say the trusted partner, but in reality, our clients understand that we're an extension of their IT. And in part of what we're explaining to them, yes, if you're throwing on, something as simple, and I just use it because everyone knows, a Nest device, something that's going to be reporting back on the network, we have to know about it because we see some rogue devices that are connecting up. You don't want some of those things that are on there. But, for the HVAC systems and some of the access, we don't want the third party coming in, and then now I have something sitting on, they recommended this wireless access point. So in reality, we're looking for rogue points that come in there, and we're explaining to them, I'm not selling you anything. I'm just sitting on your side to make sure that it doesn't cause any security issues that are in place there. We go back to, Target, you look at all these things, it starts off there, and everybody, looks for that one angle. And you don't want to be that guy that threw these HVAC systems on, another WAP that they told you to plug in that's outside the firewall.
Yeah, it happens way too often, probably more than anyone even admits, to be honest with
Right,
you.
right.
How much do the headlines help either your education angle or generate conversations where the customer's starting it with you, right? Like obviously SolarWinds, obviously Exchange has now been in the news
Yep.
again last week. Like, are they starting to come to you more than like, are you seeing that uptick?
I am seeing the uptick because, it becomes a standard piece that comes across. Listen, it depends on the news cycle. You know, I of course, we'd rather it see as a big story versus the little ticker on the bottom, because I think they do see it. If it comes on mainstream news, and I always joke about it, really, I've been talking to you about this for 5 years, and all of a sudden you see it on, one of the morning talk shows, and now you're asking me. Listen, I think real life examples are the best type of advertising that we can do. I don't wish anything bad on anybody, but it's great that you see some of these bigger name companies and some smaller name companies that are out there. Guys, this is reality. We're not doomsday provider. When you talk about the dark web, oh, that's not me. I'm like, really? Does this password look familiar? So I think that we're trying to do cradle to grave for them, saying, hey, listen, the credit card skimmers, why do they do that? Because they sell this on the dark web. That just adds to your dark web footprint. That's where these guys start. That's how you get the crazy emails that go out there, and tying it together that you're just adding to the whole piece of making it easier. And we even talk about the crazy phone calls that we get. We just had a client call us yesterday. A large corporation has Microsoft 2FA, swears that it was Microsoft that gave a call. And management's asking why. Went through the logs. Hey, you didn't use it there. You actually took a phone call. You bypassed it and said, yeah, you can call me at this number. So we're showing them, how do we stop that? Well, listen, it's a bigger picture things. And I think that we have to take more drastic measures, because listen, 2 years ago, we'd say, great, I'm going to sell you some awareness training. We all know what we do with that. You let it run for the time, you answer the questions, you take the quiz 5, 6 times. We have to be more aggressive in putting some more gates at the open points, because we can't trust the end user giving us the straight story the first time, and then we're all sitting out there taking a bunch of crap of stuff that we already protected, that we talked about. So I think it's important to re-educate, stay on top of it, and listen, nothing changed in all years of IT. Us as IT providers, we're there to serve the end users, and if we can't figure it out, we have to trust what they tell us. And now they have more control, because in this case, no, I didn't do anything. I didn't give them anything. How the heck did they get in that? Here's the log of what you did.
That's always a fun conversation. Do you for the rest of this year, let's talk about the rest of 2021. We're already into Q2, time's flying by. What are you focusing on from now to the end of the year? That is it just the regular stuff, like you said, Q2, Q3, Q4, or are you you said you're evaluating SOC? What pieces do you think you're going to be going back to your customers on this year that you may have not in the past?
So at the beginning of January, we went through, and because we have an advanced Microsoft contract, we've gone and we've employed them under what they call cloud consults, and we used us as an example. Evaluate us for Office 365 and evaluate us for Azure, and then tell me all the things that haven't made the public tech notes yet, and what can we do to better keep our Microsoft practice secure, for all of our clients. And they gave us a couple of good documents to go out there. And listen, I'm not saying go to the secure score and give them the answer. We own it, but there's a lot of stuff that we can do. And we're evaluating each of our clients' tenants to go back with tools, like rapid fire tools. We're looking at some of the SOC providers to go out there, looking at things that aren't readily right out there, like login attempts. And we're using that as a service to say, hey guys, listen, now's the time to re-look at what you had. Even in Azure itself, the Azure Advisor is giving really good, I don't want to call it tips and tricks, but real life things that you could do that might cost a little or might not cost anything at all. So we're paying more attention to all those things, fine-tuning some of the back ends of that, and then we're learning from that, because we all know that we might have a tech issue in any platform. You get on the line, it's probably 8-12 hours later. You lost 5 pounds sweating it off. You're like, and the one engineer who knows everything says, oh, here's the fix. And we're like, why the heck isn't there? That's what we're trying to do, because we all have gotten through that. So we're evaluating the 365 tenants. We're looking to dive deeper in. If you're not using Teams, go out there. Where obviously VoIP's a big piece that's out there. MDM, the whole piece. Okay, great. You just secured everything, but everyone on the iPad can do whatever they want, or the Android device. So we're just trying to increase their security plan, let them know that this has to be that. Of course, we've done so much desktop laptop refresh. If we can only get them fast enough, that's the problem. But we are seeing big pushes that are out there, kind of showing some things like, this is one of the new Surface to Go's that we're working with, brand new out of the box that's out there. We see Microsoft making a push, also showing toys like, Lenovo Fold. This is actually foldable glass. So we're trying to let our clients know that there's different things that are out there and we can show them to you. So again, it's your overall, I'll call it technology refresh. Now that we've lived through this, now that we're coming through, what's your business goals and how are you getting there? Are you staying with this work from home? Oh, give them those pieces. So I think it's just adapting on a basis and letting them know that you need to change your security posture. You need to upgrade those old machines. We invested with tools to check warranty. The thing's 7 years old. You got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole reliant on the technology over the past year has made clients more susceptible to get rid of some of the old crap, put in some industrial strength Wi-Fi. I have AT&T fiber coming into my office. They called, I was calling to figure out what went how. My bill dropped like almost $75, and now I have a gig each way for what I was paying. I mean, so I think it's those things like, let's evaluate. I was in the office after the upgrade. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now I'm spoiled because I have a gig fiber in my house, but to see that my bill was sub $200 for a gig on fiber sitting in there. So I think that those are the kind of things to talk about. And they feel like, hey, listen, I don't make anything if you change your internet provider. I could, but here you're calling up your provider and they want to keep you. So now that we have that, that drives, oh, gee, now that you got that speed, your firewall doesn't support it. So it's a piece of, that's where you say, we're trying to give you the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle so that you can continue to drive your business in second, third, fourth, first, second, all the way through those quarters that are out there as technology's changing.
Fantastic. Are you, for anyone that want, I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge, clearly. Are you planning on going to any events, for the rest of the year, or where can people find you?
So, I'm on, follow us on Twitter, LAN Infotech. I'm Michael A. Goldstein, because there's a few Goldsteins that are out there up on LinkedIn. I am definitely starting to look at my, summer and fall calendar that's out there. It's cool to see some of these events start coming up. I look already at everyone's, force feeding into October that's out there. I'm active in CompTIA, I'm active in ASCII, I'm active in TrustX, I'm active in PAX8 groups. So reach out. I am definitely MSP friendly. I love to be parts of informal groups or formal groups that are out there because all of us, I always say the guy that says that he knows everything is the first guy to fail. And I'm always the guy that wants to hear how you guys are doing things. Us in IT, and I tell people, if you got 5 IT guys in the room, you're going to have 50 solutions, because we're all very opinionated on our products. So I think it's important that we all pool, our knowledge that's in place there and help everyone out. You can only learn by doing. And if you find someone that did it great, let's see what he did. Maybe it doesn't fit your mold. Maybe it does.
I love it. I love the mentality. I'm right there with you guys. We say this 1,000 times. Get rid of the moat, get rid of the castle mentality, start talking to people. There's plenty of business out there for everyone. And if you're so worried about, competition, you're doing it the hard way. Honest to God. And I think Michael is a great resource. Michael, I really appreciate you for coming on, guys. This whole session was recorded. We're going to throw it up online at mspinitiative.com under sessions. So you can go back, rewind, maybe pick up a couple of tips from Michael's session here, and maybe reach out and ask him some questions if you have some more. Keep coming back Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1:00 Eastern time. Again, thank you many times fold for hosting us on Channel Strong. The Channel Strong tour continues next month. So if you're in the Midwest, we're coming to your town just like we did with Michael in Fort Lauderdale. We're coming to the Midwest, so we'd love to see you out on the road last 2 weeks of May. And appreciate everybody for joining today. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.